The night was meant to be perfect, a celebration of our 5th wedding anniversary. I had imagined a quiet evening with Tom, my husband, reminiscing about the years we had spent together. Instead of toasting to our journey, the entire foundation of my life came crashing down. Tom had planned a surprise for me, something special to mark the occasion. His message had come earlier in the day. It was a thoughtful reminder of the man he used to be. The man who could make my heart skip a beat with a simple text. Instead of feeling joy, though, I felt dread. I was in Jake's apartment. His touch still lingered on my skin. It was a painful reminder of what I'd done. Jake was a stark reminder of the double life I had been leading. He was everything Tom no longer was. He made me feel alive, seen, desired. With him, I rediscovered a version of myself I thought I had lost forever. But this wasn't love. It was an escape, a reprieve from the cold, silent distance that had grown between Tom and me. When did it happen? We became strangers. Was it when he started coming home late, consumed by work, or when our conversations turned into little more than practical exchanges about schedules and errands? Jake walked into my life when I needed someone the most. At first, it was just a harmless connection, an engaging conversation over a bay. We had a business lunch and had a good laugh, but over time, things changed. He became my secret and my refuge. 16 months had passed since our affair began. Those months were filled with passion, guilt, and the constant fear of being discovered. Tom wasn't a bad man. He provided for us and made sure our lives were comfortable and stable. He worked really hard, always trying to give us the best. But while he gave so much, both materially and emotionally, he had retreated. We stopped seeing each other in the ways that mattered, and our love became a distant memory, a relic of the past. In that void, Jake had stepped in tonight as I was getting ready for dinner. I felt weighed down by I had to make some choices. Tom's message was still on my phone, reminding me of the life we'd built together, or at least the life he thought we'd built. My smile in the mirror was carefully practiced, and my dress was chosen to impress. But inside I was unraveling. What Tom didn't know, or so I thought, was the truth. Jacob, our son, wasn't Tom's child. He was Jake's. I'd buried this truth so deep that even I sometimes forgot it, but it was always there, like a shadow over every moment I spent with my family. Tom loved Jacob as his own, dedicating himself to being a present, caring father. When work left him drained, watching him, I felt guilty for keeping his love a secret. I thought that this truth could stay hidden forever, and that we could continue living the life we'd built together without consequence. But tonight, something felt different. Tom's calm demeanor in his messages and his insistence on surprising me seemed a bit different. The restaurant he chose was one of our favorites, an intimate spot with soft lighting and quiet corners that once set the stage for laughter and whispered conversations. As I stepped inside, I hoped to rekindle some semblance of that. I wanted to pretend, for just one evening, that everything was fine. But as Tom greeted me, I noticed something in his eyes, a coldness and quiet rage that he was holding tightly under control. He didn't speak much, and as the evening unfolded, my anxiety grew. Then, when the time was right, he presented the evidence, photos, messages, and Tom knew everything. He knew about my betrayal, the affair, and even the truth about Jacob. My carefully crafted world came crashing down. Tom didn't yell or make a scene. He simply laid the evidence before me. His silence spoke volumes in that moment. I realized the gravity of the situation. The damage I had caused was no longer just about me, Tom, or even Jake. It was about the years of deception, the lives I had entangled in my lies, and the irreparable fractures I created in the process. This night, which should have been a celebration of love, became a reckoning, a moment of bondness. The truth was that I couldn't ignore the consequences of my choices any longer. The worst part was Tom's silence as he looked at me. It wasn't anger or disappointment. It was resignation and a finality that left no room for forgiveness. What happens when the facade crumbles and the truth is laid bare? When the man you've been deceiving for years decides to confront the lies, you don't have an answer. All I knew was that this night, which was meant to celebrate our love, had become the beginning of my undoing. The restaurant was dimly lit and familiar. It was a place that once felt like a haven for shared intimacy. As we sat there, I stepped inside. The air felt thicker, charged with an unspoken tension. Tom was already there, seated at a table that had borne witness to countless evenings of affection. But tonight, his calmness sent a chill down my spine. There was a quiet menace lurking beneath his composed exterior. His eyes were locked on me the moment I walked in. As I approached, I felt their intensity, and each step towards him felt deliberate. I had the feeling that something was wrong, but I couldn't put my finger on it. We began dinner with a facade of normalcy, exchanging pleasantries about trivial topics. Our words danced on the surface of the moment, but they didn't really. There was a deep undercurrent of truth that both of us could feel, but neither of us was willing to address it. As the evening went on, the tension thickened, and an unspoken storm gathered beneath our polite exchanges. Tom's gaze lingered on me with an unsettling persistence, as if he were stripping away every pretense and exposing the eyes I had carefully incorporated into the fabric of our lives. I tried to convince myself we could get through the evening without incident, but the atmosphere betrayed that hope. Suddenly, the tone of the night shifted. Tom's posture straightened, his movements slow and deliberate, with a calm that was far more chilling. Instead of being angry, he reached into his bag and put a folder on the table between us. My chest tightened. I didn't need to open it to know what it was. The air around me seemed to thicken as he pushed it towards me and broke the silence with words that hit like a hammer. I know everything, Justine. His voice was calm and controlled, without any warmth. Time seemed to slow as I stared at the folder. My pulse quickened and my breath caught. Finally, Tom opened it, revealing the first piece of damning evidence, a DNA test. It confirmed my deepest fear. Jacob wasn't his son. The stark truth lay in black and white, undeniable. The ground beneath me seemed to vanish as my carefully constructed life came crashing down around me. And that was only the beginning. Tom went on, methodically, to reveal the depth of his knowledge. He showed me photos, reports from a private investigator, and text messages. All the evidence of my betrayal was laid bare in front of me. Each piece he revealed my double life, which I thought I could hide. The world around us blurred into insignificance. The restaurant's hum faded into nothingness. All that remained was the weight of Tom's gaze. His eyes were unrelenting as they bore into me. I've known for months. His tone was disturbingly calm. I wanted to. He wanted to see how far I would take it. His words cut through me, sharper than any shout could have been. I tried to speak to offer some kind of explanation, but he silenced me with a sharp, venomous snap. "Don't try to talk your way out of this," he said. Each word he drove the knife deeper with his calmness and control, making me feel utterly powerless. This wasn't a misunderstanding or a mistake. It was the unraveling of everything we had built together. The destruction of the life I had taken for granted was deliberate and precise. Tom slid another envelope across the table. It was for divorce due to adultery. He said it softly, leaving no room for argument. My hands trembled as I picked up the envelope. It was heavier than the paper itself. Inside were the documents that would sever our marriage, reducing years of memories and shared moments to cold legalities. "Formalities, I thought you should know," he added, his voice unfeeling. "I've already frozen our accounts. Your things have been sent to your mother's house. There's nothing left for you here." The enormity of his words hit me like a tidal wave. He had dismantled my life with meticulous efficiency, leaving no part untouched. I was left reeling by the sheer scale of his plan. I hadn't just lost him, I had lost our home, our stability, everything we had built together. And there was more. Tom delivered one final blow with a business that slipped through his measured tone. "As for Jake," he said, his voice, "he'll pay for this too. The firm knows everything about your affair. His career is over." I was left gasping at the sheer impact of his words. He hadn't just sought to end our marriage. He was ensuring the complete destruction of everything I had touched. Jake's once thriving career would be in ruins, collateral damage in the wreckage. I looked at Tom. I could see he was pleased with himself. This wasn't an impulsive decision. It was a carefully planned revenge. He didn't say anything else. He just got up from the table and walked away. I was left sitting alone amidst the wreckage of my life, the restaurant continuing on around me, seemingly oblivious to the devastation at our table. I sat frozen, clutching the divorce papers, the tears I had been holding back finally spilling over. I had convinced myself I could control everything, but it had all fallen apart. The life I had taken for granted was gone, replaced by a cold, unrelenting void. Tom had torn down the walls I had built brick by brick until there was nothing left but ruin. I had lost him, I had lost Jake, and now I think of a future as empty and unforgiving as the man who had once promised to love me forever.